give again for some. I don't have a set time for these podcasts. I usually try to do them every Monday night between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. when I have the time to get them out. But usually they're on Mondays. And as I have more listeners and kind of see where the podcast goes, then maybe I can do some more of a scheduled. Let's see. See Jordan. I see Bob. Jordan shared a story the other day about, I think it was the first time he met Wayne, and Wayne was trying to race with a broken leg. So Jordan, if you're listening, maybe you can chime in or chat and expand on that a little bit. Let's see here. Oh, we got Steve. Oh, Steve. He said, we spend thousands of dollars on gear. He wears jeans and tennis shoes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then at Kinsman, he was fun to battle with. Yeah, actually, now that you bring that up, him and I had a couple of races where they did the mixed GT race at Blue Max. And I was in my 206. He was in his World Formula. And it was driving me nuts because I couldn't get around him. And so I finally got around him. It probably wasn't the cleanest of passes, but let's say I rubbed my way by him. And we're going down the straightaway. He hits me so hard, I thought there was a 125 on the track. And he's pushing me into turn one. And I could have swore my 206 hit about 14,000 RPM. And it took me 3 or 4 laps to just get away from him so he'd quit hitting me. But it wasn't a malicious type of a hit. He was pushing me past people, so I didn't mind. But I was just waiting for the engine to let go at any time. So that's just one story that I kind of remember. So thanks, Steve, for kind of jogging my memory on that. But I'm sure there's a lot of you. Again, my podcast isn't... most of my listens are all downloads. They're not usually live. So we'll just kind of see where they go. So let's see, a couple people chiming in here, so give me a second. Yeah, if this was more of a live broadcast at 7 o'clock every Monday, then people could kind of predict it. But again, almost 90% of my listens are all downloads after the fact, either a couple of hours later or even the following morning. So that's why I'm rambling. You could always hit the off button. But I just wanted to kind of give people an opportunity if they wanted to chime in. You can listen to this podcast. It's, again, NorCalCarters.com. Click on podcast. That's my main player. But it's on Spreaker. That's who hosts it. It's on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, iTunes, CastBox, Podcast Addict. And again, if you go to NorCalCarters.com/podcast, and below the player, you can see all the different platforms that I have and the links directly to the show. Let's see here. Bear with me for a second. Okay. Yep, I'm still here. Sorry. I just, like I said, I'm going back and forth. I'm normally pretty scattered. And now I'm just even more scattered. That's all. Let's see. All right. So one nice thing about my new equipment setup, it's sensitive. It picks up on everything. So you probably hear me typing away or toggling between screens. One of my buddies said I should do live videos, but I have a face for radio, so I'm going to stick with the podcast, I think. Let's see here. Let me just go over my notes. Let me see if there's anything I missed. As far as the updates or events happening in Northern California. Again, if you want to comment, if you have a story to share, feel free. I could either look at it on Facebook on our NorCal Carters page or directly on the actual podcast player. So there's a couple different ways. And in the future, you can also go to NorCalCarters.com podcast, open up the player, and if you like the podcast, if you follow it, you'll be notified when everything happens live. So you get a quick little notification that we are live. So most of the time it doesn't matter because most of the time it's just reading off events and talking about the stuff coming up. Every once in a while I go on a tangent. Okay, maybe quite frequently. And I am working on doing the guests. I've had a few. A while back I had Gary Carlton on, had Scott Speed on. I actually had Gary Carlton on a couple of times. Had a couple of guys from the Track Magic group on. And as the podcast grows, I definitely plan on expanding it to having the guests being live and taking questions. So we have the capability. We have the technology. But again, you can, if you like the podcast via the Spreaker app, then you get notified. Let's see what else we have going on in NorCal Carters. I was highlighting the retire program a few times. So that is where a company goes into the big races. They collect all the tires. The bad ones, or the ones that don't make the cut, they get recycled and repurposed into new products. And the ones that are prime condition, they get inspected for any damage, holes, etc. They get wrapped up in plastic. They get boxed up, so they're in pre-shipped boxes. And that's the retire program, and you can find more information on that on NorCalCarters.com. Steve Peugeot, thank you. Thank you for sharing. He was fun to battle with on the track. And again, he was just a good character or personality at the track as well. Very lively. Just, this is sad news. It's just, especially at Stockton, he's definitely going to be missed. Not saying he's not going to be missed elsewhere, but I know he was at the Stockton track all the time. And when I talked to him and he was going to go take his 80 out to the track, it was usually Stockton. He bounced around between Stockton, Blue Max, and Kinsman Kart Club. But, yeah, maybe another look into Wayne's personality. He called the shop one day, and Samantha answered the phone. His response, she answered the phone, and he goes, "Is there someone there I could talk to?" I personally thought it was funny. I still think it's funny, but yeah, his personality was very unique. It was definitely Wayne Bundy-ish. And he had his car. Maybe someone can chime in on the car that he had. It was red with racing stripe. I think it was red with racing, like a checkered flag motif on the side. But yeah, the guy was just so full of energy. Just a lot of energy. And I keep saying it because I didn't know how old he was till a couple of months ago. And you never know, he was in his 70s with the amount of youth and energy that he had. And He was intense too, just a very intense individual, and yeah, Godspeed, Wayne Bundy, Godspeed. So I'll let this kind of ramble on for a little bit longer, and then I might turn it off at some point. But again, I wanted to give some of you a chance to chime in. I've posted on social media that I was doing this at around 7:45 to 8 o'clock. So again, give everyone a chance. If you want to, that's fine. And this also gives me a lot of good insight on live interaction with listeners. And if you're not really sure how the whole thing works, you can go to norcalcarters.com, click on the podcast tab. That will take you directly to my player, and you just click the play button on the player, and this shows live, so it should show up in your screen as live, and you can click on the comment bar to make a comment or a mention for Wayne. And again, if you like the podcast, then you're notified anytime I go live or anytime I post a new episode. So I think we're on 52 episodes, I think. So again, I try to do them every Monday. Just plugging away, and hopefully the podcasts are bringing new people into the sport, or at least making people aware of it. 2020 is going to be pretty incredible. There's a lot of good things going on from a NorCal Carter standpoint. A couple of the clubs are already kicking ass for next year, so that's exciting to see. And there's a couple of private groups that are not a part of clubs that have a lot of stuff planned. And again, 2020 is going to be really good. And our little mission statement for 2020 to keep us focused on our NorCal Carters project is You're the Club. And just invite one friend out to the track. Put them in a cart. Just one friend. If all of us invite one friend, we would double the NorCal karting scene in just 1 year. And someone said, I wish I knew who said it. If you're out there listening as a local guy, might have been Henry, but if it was you that told me that, thank you, because it was such a silly statement that just makes so much sense. I mean, if all of us just invited one person next year, just one, there's 365 days in a year. You bring one person to the track and they buy a cart. And assuming we don't lose anybody, and we always do, there's always a in and outflow in karting. But if the net loss is none, everyone adds one person, NorCal karting would double next year. That's kind of a pretty powerful statement. Well, I'll give it a few more moments, and then I'll cut the podcast off. But if you'd like to, again, share a story, you can do it on any of our social media links. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. On my webpage, you can actually do comments if you log in as a user. So we do allow that. I'm also on Instagram now. So all of them are under the NorCal Carters handle. So the Instagram platform isn't the best for communicating back and forth, but it is great for photos. So if you have a photo that you want to share of Wayne, post it. Just hashtag NorCal Carters. And if you hear the clicking, I do apologize. It's I'm just kind of bouncing around here. Can everyone hear me loud and clear?